Dear Lauren, I had an almost 2 years long affair, 1.5 years emotional, and 7 months physical with someone I work with. He told me that he loved me, and even though he wasn't in love with his wife, he would never get divorced because the kids wouldn't understand, and he would feel as though he'd failed. He has somewhat of a high profile job. My husband discovered the affair through my phone about 7 months ago. He emailed my affair partner and told him to stop all contact with me. However, my affair partner and I do keep in touch and see each other periodically, even if it's no longer physical. I don't understand why I can't get over my AP and let him go. I have a really wonderful husband, and I don't know that I would even have left my husband and 3 children for my affair partner. In many ways, I think my husband and I are more compatible than me and my affair partner, also. Why can I not let him go? In the back of my mind, I hope that he eventually decides that he does want to be with me, especially when his kids get older. I have an opportunity to take a new job that would cause me not to see my affair partner any longer, as we live about 6 hours away from each other. But I hate the idea of not seeing him anymore. However, I know I'm in this limbo that is emotionally very hard and need to focus on my marriage. Thankfully, my relationship with my husband has gotten better after his discovery, and I'm very grateful for his forgiveness and understanding. My parents both had affairs, and my mother first told me that my dad was cheating on her when I was just 5 years old. Because of that, I think my husband knows that I have a somewhat skewed view of marriage and affairs. I'm in therapy, and my husband and I are also in couples therapy. However, I have not been very honest or forthcoming about my feelings for my affair partner. I really love my life and feel so thankful for it. Then why do I risk still seeing my affair partner and losing everything, especially when my affair partner doesn't even want me? I would even still want to be physical with him. Thank you, M. All right, there's a lot here, Michelle. Let's unpack without obviously getting too in the weeds or getting too deep because we've only got like 5 to 10 minutes to answer M. I think M's being really honest about the fact that a lot of affairs, even though they end, they don't end whether the contact is still intermittent or whether that person is still held in your heart for a time or even quite some time afterwards. It's that like the one that got away idea that has the ability to arrest all of us in a place and time in our hearts and in our minds that we can't move forward. It's the unfinished business. Especially with an affair, the feelings are so much stronger and it's so much more intense. Now, when she puts logic into the equation, I hear her saying, I don't actually even think my affair partner is like as good of a partner choice for me as my own husband. But why can not get over him? And really, what does come up for me is that idea of like unfinished business, the one that got away, the thing you can't, like we always want what we can't have. What do you think?
I'm hearing a lot of her wanting to be chosen is really what I heard, that she
Yeah.
just wants to know that he wants her, even though I might not go for it. And I probably won't go for it. In fact, I won't go for it. But
Yeah.
I'm going to leave the door open a little bit. I think it's really a lot about wanting to be chosen. So then she can say no or yes, probably no. And also the keeping it alive, like you were saying in the heart, but I also think in the mind too, right? We spend so much time in the fantasy in an affair of, the what could be and like would it be better and all of that time. That's such a place that the affair lives in, is in this fantasy in our mind. And it's very, especially Lish talks, right? It's 3 kids and her husband's great and life is great, but it's also been a distraction. And it's helped to kind of keep this little part of her brain that nobody else knows about in this fantasy. And I think that's a big part about it too, because letting go of that now is just to be fully present with no distraction, fantasy land to disappear off to, which
Yeah. I think I'm so glad you picked up on that because that was a huge thing. I was reading the letter and I was going, where did she feel unchosen in her life, especially in childhood? I would want her to dig back and say, like, where did I first notice myself longing for the attention, the affirmation, the connection with a parent figure, perhaps,
Mhm.
that I could never quite get? I think it's very human for us all to want to be chosen. It validates our worthiness, it validates our existence on the planet as like wanted by somebody. But if you are finding that really your end goal is just to be chosen because logically you don't even really want to be with this person, there's something deeper there that is worth unpacking in therapy, which is great that she's in therapy. She can bring that to her therapist and really do the deep dive. And just to your point, Michelle, about the what could be, the affair lives in the possibility and the projection and the imagination. It lies in the imagined possibility, but generally the great unknown. Her life with her husband is the known. So, of course, you're always going to want the thing that's just outside of your reach that your imagination is doing all kinds of, pretzel jumping jacks and turning itself into a pretzel. It's spending a lot of emotional energy imagining what that could be, and that's very alluring, very addicting. And what comes up for me too, I don't know what you think about this, but like she hasn't actually ended contact with her AP. So the question is, why can't I get over him? Well, baby, you haven't even tried. Like,
Mhm,
I'll argue you haven't even tried.
mhm.
You have to go no contact for long enough for your brain wiring to stop returning to the old connection.
When she talks about taking that new job and feeling like that one's gonna be a loss, I think maybe the reframe is, what if that new job and that new opportunity is actually not a loss, but rather a gaining of the emotional freedom that she's looking for? Like, what if that's actually gaining the freedom from this fantasy, gaining the freedom from even nurturing this and keeping this alive? Like, what if it's actually gaining something instead of losing something? They should take
Right.
this opportunity because she's
I,
seeing it as a loss, like, of this contact with the affair partner. So I'm just
yeah,
wondering if
her
there's like,
outlook is definitely about not wanting to let go. In all ways, it feels like a vast negative to lose this person who she, really, for all intents and purposes, doesn't see a future with. She just wants to be chosen around. So it's really going to be her inside work to stop that hamster wheel of staying engaged with this person. Because again, like all those systems in her brain are just constantly firing around the connection with this person. And I don't care if your contact has diminished with that person or you're not physical anymore. How many times a day do you think about that person? How many times are you checking your phone to see if they've reached out? How many times have you refreshed your email? You're still mentally connected. You're still emotionally hijacked. You are not free. So I would encourage her to explore in therapy, what is your resistance to actually being free? If it's not really about this guy, which it doesn't sound like it is, what is it really about? What does the affair represent for you? Because it's not necessarily about the person she's having an affair with as much as it is about what the affair represents that she is really struggling to let go of. Freedom, vitality, connection, whatever it is, she doesn't want to have to make a choice, which we understand because we talk to people all day, every day who don't want to have to make a choice. And that's why opening this door to an affair is so painful because ultimately, when it comes time to close it, you're sitting there trying to figure out how to plug up the hole on a loss in your heart. Um, but the truth is, you won't know if you can until you earnestly try and expect it to be difficult. Expect it to feel like I can't do this, you know? Expect it to feel absolutely unbearable. That's normal. But unless you try, you are always going to feel like somehow there's something different or special about the fact that you can't let go of this person, when really it's more about the systems that are in place around the affair itself that keep that feeling going.
I think my last thing I was thinking about, just for my last thoughts, is they're in couples therapy, her and her husband right now. And so she also acknowledged that she hasn't been fully honest about her feelings about it. So I'm also thinking that that can help to ensure that the affair is kept alive when you have not it fully disclosed. And so again, it's something for her to work on in her individual therapy and start to kind of work through, is should she be fully disclosing? Will that help to provide more concrete ending to this affair relationship? Again, for her ever, to each their own, and that's something to work through, or um, this job is at this new opportunity is ending. Like, these are two possibilities that she's presented that could really provide an opportunity to more concretely end things here.
Yeah, it's true. She hasn't been honest, and that is a huge part of this letter. She is so grateful that her husband is being so generous and open to staying together and working on things. I mean, she's very grateful for the things in her life, and yet at the same time, she's still in the affair if she's keeping secrets about their ongoing contact. You and I both understand that knowing all details about the history of an affair isn't always helpful.
Totally.
But if you're in therapy and you think that you're going in one direction, and then the person who's had an affair is still withholding the fact that they're still connected, and the betrayed spouse is trying to believe that it's forward motion, and they're trying to trust again, and they're trying to trust themselves again. It's really devastating to be doing all of those things and still be harboring something where if your spouse found out, it would really shatter trust. And what comes up for me, and then we'll wrap it here, is the fact that her husband discovered the affair. He reached out to the affair partner to tell the affair partner not to contact her. What about her? Why isn't she taking the initiative? And I get that that's what her letter is asking, but it shouldn't be that your husband was the driving force between contacting the other person and telling them not to contact you for any progress to be made. You got to dig really deep and double down on why you are making the choice for yourself to stop this self-sabotaging behavior, because it should not require at a certain point only outside forces for you to be connected to the priority around ending contact with this person with whom it would blow up your life if it was discovered again. And you have a second chance at your marriage, which you obviously value. So,
Much greater
um,
loss to her, that marriage, much greater loss than the loss of this affair partner. I mean,
right,
she's talking about this here.
right,
This would be a massive loss.
right. So imagine your life really with this affair partner and imagine what that would look and feel like. And if you really don't want that, because you're on your way to getting it. So Em, I'm glad you're in therapy because I think there's a lot of really good things to work on. Really, I would think about what it would be like to be more honest with yourself here and dig deeper. And also ask yourself, what kind of pain are you keeping yourself from by refusing to make the permanent change? We can do hard things. We won't die from the pain of disconnecting from our affair partner. We will struggle. We will experience heartbreak, but we're going to make it through. And if the end goal is that you want your marriage and that this person is not the person you want to be with, I would do everything you can to really finally stop contact and see it as a positive thing, not as, something being taken from you that's, um, additive in your life. Cause it sounds like that it's really not. So good luck, Anne.